In questionable policies news, submitted by Oreos Are Vegan. Online personality and comedian Steven Crowder refuses to be silenced after upsetting everyone with homophobic comments.
So, I don't know if you guys heard this one. This is kind of like a controversy that's happened over the past couple weeks. But Steven Crowder, he's a YouTube conservative comedian who does what he calls a late night show. So like I think he runs live streams at certain times, and he tries to comedically attack the left. And so he got into trouble because he does these videos where he tries to debunk certain topics and certain people who he feels are attacking conservative ideology. And so he went after a Vox employee by the name of Crowder-Maza. And he basically, Crowder-Maza likes to refer to himself constantly as a gay Latino. And so Steven Crowder repeatedly calls him a gay Latino to make fun of that, or so Steven Crowder says. And there's a video that was released on Twitter that has like a supercut of like Steven Crowder just being like,
just saying queer like 20,000 times.
Exactly. He's like Mexican queer, gay Mexican, all this stuff, and it sounds like a pejorative.
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing. So a lot of the Crowder defenders feel like it was taken out of context because the context of his jokes was to make fun of that he has to proclaim who he is as he says things.
So he would have made that joke if I said, as the King of England.
That's what they're saying.
But he was making an emphasis on why do you have to title yourself every time you say something?
Right. And then there's even a quote in there where he says like you wouldn't even have a job if you weren't a gay person.
But I guess in his reports or like whatever videos he was making for Vox, like was that relevant to bring up that he was a gay Mexican?
So when Crowder rebuttals things, like he takes the video of whoever is talking, and Maza did a lot of videos for Vox, and he like lets the video play, and then he does what's like a rebuttal, what he calls a rebuttal to what Maza says. So in his rebuttal, he feels like he's making fun of the fact that he has to say all that stuff. So it's like, as a gay Mexican, well, you're a gay Mexican, aren't you? You do like talking about how you're a gay Mexican, so you're a gay Mexican, and as you pranced across the stage or whatever the fuck.
I see.
So even if it is relevant for him to mention he is a gay Mexican, to Crowder, it's just like, that's funny you even said it, period.
That's funny that you have to keep saying it.
That's the joke, I think, that's taken out of context.
That's what he says, and that's what his defender says.
Because I watched it, and it makes sense, like, how that joke was constructed, but then I also watched the snippets, and if you add all of those small segments together, it looks really mean.
Well, it's not that. I mean, there's, so I understand now the gay, Latino, whatever, but then there were all the other snippets where it's like, oh, here's a lesbian with a lesbian haircut, or whatever, and it's like, well, how's that taken out of context?
That made me laugh. I'm sorry, but like, I think I just have a very dark sense of humor.
That's why you're here with us, man.
Yeah, this is sticky.
It's sticky?
Because I do agree, like, put together, it sounds, I also watched a couple of clips of his, like, entire thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem as bad. When you see it like this, especially as Carlos.
Yes.
I would obviously be bothered or hurt to see it just in...
Well, I think there's more baggage and weight to his words because he comes from conservative background. So like when he's saying it the way he does, it just seems like he got personally attacked, and he's really just trying to like cut him.
True.
But it only seems that way if you watch the compilation. Does that make sense?
True. Yeah, it makes 100% sense. Yeah, for sure.
I actually watched the original Vox video, and it was called I forgot. But that was the one that the original one that Steven Crowder was breaking down. Mm-hmm. And then that's where it all kind of started. And then Vox posted a video, and then Steven rebutted to that video, and then the
compilation.
snippets, the compilations came out, and then Steven Crowder's channel got demonetized.
Yes, so that's what is going on right now.
It was almost like he was not even put on trial. He was just
guilty.
Carlos lobbied to have Steven Crowder demonetized.
Yes.
I don't even think he would question that.
And then YouTube just sided with Carlos without even looking into it.
Just real quick to contextualize this is what Crowder-Maza says. Can you read this?
Oh yeah, I saw this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Oh, yeah, for the
I thought
people.
you meant, could I read it?
Oh, no,
I'm
you're
like,
good,
I
you're
can
good,
see
you're
it.
good.
Okay.
People.
So I have pretty thick skin when it comes to online harassment, but something has been really bothering me. Since I started working at Vox, Steven Crowder has been making video after video debunking strike through. Every single video
Which is
has
his show.
included repeated overt attacks on my sexual orientation and ethnicity. Here's a sample. :
Bring this down or up to?
Down.
I get it, guys. It's amateur hour, okay? All right. So here's what YouTube says in response to that. May you?
Thanks again, 1 out of 4. Thanks again for taking the time to share all of this information with us. We take allegations of harassment very seriously. We know this is important and impacts a lot of people.
And so then YouTube also says,
Our teams spent the last few days conducting an in-depth review of the videos flagged to us, and while we found language that was clearly hurtful, the videos, as posted, don't violate our policies. We've included more info below to explain this decision.
and then they said,
As an open platform, it's crucial for us to allow everyone, from creators to journalists to late-night TV hosts, to express their opinions within the scope of our policies. Opinions can be deeply offensive, but if they don't violate our policies, they'll remain on our site.
and then they continued.
Even if a video remains on our site, it doesn't mean we endorse or support that viewpoint. There are other aspects of the channel that we're still evaluating. We'll be in touch with any further updates.
So how
that
did he
was
get
before.
demonetized?
So that was before. Then YouTube came out and basically said, we suspended this channel's monetization. That was the next step.
Because they got dragged, to be
Yeah,
honest.
hard.
YouTube got just pulled through the mud for not. I think people
So a lot
wanted
of people
his
were
channel
mad at-
deleted,
Yeah.
first of all.
They decided that these people who were attacking don't like Steven Crowder, and they're like, I don't want him to be able to speak on this platform anymore.
It seemed like YouTube was cool with was for freedom of opinion. Like you should be able to voice your opinion as long as it's not offensive and violates their usage. And then all of a sudden they just demonetize them.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
YouTube's been in a lot of hot water with LGBT issues and demonetizing gay creators and gay topics and stuff like that. So I feel like this particular thread that Carlos made really just gained traction and almost kind of pushed them up against the wall. Oh, you've been doing this, this, and this to gay creators, and now you have this compilation that you're gonna ignore that a lot of people considered hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, see, when a platform has to take a political position or a moral position, I think that's when things get fucked up.
It's scary.
Yeah, and then also, Crowder-Maza came out and said demonetizing doesn't work. He's like, abusers use it as proof they're being discriminated against, and they make millions off selling merch, doing speaking gigs, and getting their followers to support them on Patreon. The ad revenue isn't the problem, it's the platform. Basically saying hey,
Shut them out.
don't just demonetize him. I want this guy gone, basically. And that's where a lot of people are like, this is I don't know if this is a bridge too far for me.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, I think, annoying videos that Steven Crowder has, but he also has some that are like, oh man, I'm glad that they were brave enough to have this discussion.
Change my mind stuff?
Yeah, because they had one after this whole thing. They had one where he's in front of the Google office at Austin talking about this exact issue, and he had a lawyer and all that. And I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. Just because one group feels that what you're saying is hateful and mean, that they get the power to completely shut you up.
Yeah.
That can be our channel, dude. We say a lot of shit that pisses people off.
From a comedic viewpoint.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
And it's sometimes it's taken out of context.
All the time.
But then if enough people are pissed about it, they could shut us down.
Wait, then what the fuck is the point of freedom of speech? I don't get it.
But if a lot of people are upset at it, doesn't it mean that it's right?
Doesn't it mean that that's a mob mentality? Like you're letting the mob decide for everyone?
But you're saying that they're
But isn't that
getting
the
mad?
masses?
Yeah, but what we're supposed to do is if you're a platform, we're supposed to remain neutral. But then YouTube
if
jumped
the
on the mob side.
But if the masses is saying, hey, we keep getting sad and upset and hurt over this, you're supposed to be.
But it should have
Then
been.
don't watch
It wasn't
That's
the
what I-
masses it was one person getting upset who happens
Yes.
to have somewhat of a traction of a fan base now because of a thread.
So my question is in the gay community, were they all binding behind Carlos, backing him up and saying, yo, this is.
I saw some people doing it, and I remember sending the thread and articles about YouTube ignoring it in a group chat, and it was very it's different because not everyone cares the same. Like I busted out laughing. We watched the compilation when he said the thing about the lesbian because it was true. But it's like
That's how I am with Asian videos.
yeah, but see, I'm someone that I love comedy. Like I get certain things, and some people are not like that. And it's like, who do you?
They don't get it because they're idiots. And then what ends up happening is they look at you and be like, how come you're not standing with
Aren't
us?
you gay? Why, aren't we a monolith? Don't we all agree on literally everything?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't come out and be like, Carlos is a mess. I think Carlos's feelings are valid, but it doesn't bother me. But again, I'm not him.
Yeah.
So you feel like getting Crowder's channel getting demonetized is a little too far?
A little too far. I mean, I don't know his whole history, but based on these clips, no. Like,
Yeah.
unless
based
he's
on-
like threatening his life or if something else happened that we don't know about, like, I just see him taking the piss out of Carlos's own, like, labeling.
So Carlos also has said that he was doxxed, and not by Crowder's direction, because Crowder has. I saw a compilation of Crowder like denouncing doxing and shit. But
What's doxing?
doxing is when they find out where you live, what your phone number is, your email, all that shit.
Yeah.
And they were spamming Carlos Maza's text. 'Cause I was waiting for you to say that because they were spamming his text saying debate Steven Crowder like a bunch of times, and Carlos felt unsafe and all that kind of stuff.
Now, see, that's
So does that?
at which point Steven should speak out and be like, don't do that.
And he has.
Okay, so
But that's the argument that Carlos made is like, I have been directly affected by what he feels is a bullying campaign. And Crowder's like, you put content on YouTube and I have been debunking the content that you make. Isn't that allowed? So that's where both sides stand.
Damn, it's tough, man.
Like when you have crazy fan bases,
Yeah.
how can you, like if you have like a crazy fan who does something for you but they don't know it, like fucking a guy who loved Jodie Foster thought if I shoot Ronald Reagan, she'll love me. Like that really happened. That's why Ronald Reagan got shot.
But it's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
Crazy people are gonna do what crazy people are gonna do.
It's not Jodie Foster's fault
Yeah,
because
no,
Jodie Foster
yeah.
didn't fucking signal this guy to do it. She had a crazy fan who did something that he thought was for her because he's crazy.
Yeah, if you're out there saying like, kill this group, then it makes sense that it's your fault because
And then that would be violating the policies. So the fact that he didn't violate the policies, I don't think he should have gotten demonetized either.
right.
So there's a subreddit on YouTube called The Donald that just got quarantined by Reddit because Reddit claims that they used violent. They were advocating for violence against police officers in Oregon who were summoned to take a bunch of Republican lawmakers and put them back in the Capitol for a vote on a climate change bill. And a couple people in the comments of the Donald, which is a huge subreddit that has tens of thousands of posts a day, they said like, if that was me, if they came for me, that's why I have a rifle, and they can. This is why we have the Second Amendment and stuff like that. So Reddit use that as an excuse to quarantine the Donald because they say that that's advocating violence. But if you go on Reddit and you look at other subreddits, where like there's a subreddit that's anti-cops and stuff, and they have in there like stuff that's like, I'd kill that cop, I'm glad that cop died, and nobody cares.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where conservatives feel targeted by this. They feel like the rules only apply to them and not to the rest of everybody
That
else.
makes sense.
I think there's a difference between targeting a group of people and making fun of one specific person. And I think context is important. And when you like blur the two or get like your fans to feel some type of way because something happened to you is where I think things get tricky and kind of like just muddy and kind of confuses everyone. Because it takes away from actual like discrimination and hatred, and it becomes a thing of like, are they just talking about me? Because I never heard him say anything about gay people or the gay community.
Just talking about that guy.
I heard him talking to Carlos.
Same with me. So I don't know. Maybe people might be just seeing him doing the act outs of like the gay act outs and stuff, and they might get hurt because they've been bullied like that before, even though it's not about them, right? So people just see other things when and they make sense of it in their own way. So I think that's what ends up happening is when people can't really understand what's going on and they see snippets of something, they draw their own conclusion and get mad or support or whatever. And I'm like, just leave it alone.
The scary part is that his channel could just get demonetized without like a proper trial or something.
That is the
Like
scary
people that
part.
actually look,
Yeah.
is this hate speech? Is he violating the usage? And then they just take his money away. That's pretty nuts.
And they're pretty. They told him before he was banned. They said, "You following the terms of service, you're okay," because they had personal meetings in person to make sure that everything was chill. And then they after the pressure, this last bit of huge amount of pressure, they just said he's demonetized. Don't worry about it. Get off our backs.
You know what's even crazier is they can't even define what hate speech is.
I've noticed.
That's the crazy part, because then it's subjective to whoever's controlling, like the
Crowd,
filter.
Oh, the filter.
So like let's say we get reported, right? And then let's say the person behind the screen is like a 19-year-old, and they're like they determine if your channel is violating hate speech or not.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
and they're
like-
being overworked too. Remember we did a JK News episode on the people that are in charge of looking at whatever's being flagged. Like, they're being so overworked that they're like delusional sometimes because they don't sleep, they don't get paid enough. So that whole system is broken.
Yeah, exactly. And what if they don't understand the comedy, so they don't understand the context, and they're taking it literally? So damn, there's a lot of dangers to it.